Y'all know me, Big the Legend G, with my co-host Initial D, bringing that heat in a twist street. Grab your popcorn, kick up your feet, sit back, relax. We about to blow. Welcome to our channel, enjoy the show. Ayy.
Hard conversation, brain stimulation, BGID, no imitation. Look, pull up on the mic, two big guys is rocking the night. Sub on YouTube and follow on Twitch. I guarantee it's gonna be a hit. It's showtime. It is showtime.
Yo, what's good, everybody?
Happy Thursday.
Feeling, yes.
It is it ain't the first of the month. It is April. We up in here, and it's a blessing. It really is.
Definitely a blessing.
Absolutely, man. So this year's just going by so quick. I can't even. I forget what day it is.
Right. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and I know you you are just coming down as far as like going from left to right, right to left, work and the activities, and bam, you got to be. Have they had like an award ceremony for like most committed streamers? You didn't already won first place on the VR, so I mean, you will probably win first place on that, or pretty darn close to the top.
You're right.
Or committed to streaming. So, but
yeah,
that is how you become great, man. That's how you become, making a name for yourself, bro. So, how was your day?
Man, it's been good. It's been busy. Just fighting little sinuses, but it is what it is. Normally, when the sinuses hit me pretty hard because I really get sick. So,
Same here. Well, I'm all right, but it hit my home like a number of weeks ago. Kind of like hit us all one by one. And I was all choked up last month. It wasn't awful. Like, it wasn't bad enough for me to be like, oh, I can't go to work or not to lay in the bed all day. It wasn't that bad, but
yeah.
Nonetheless, I don't like not feeling normal, so I hate it.
Yep.
I just nobody got time for that. Like that lady said.
Right. Ain't nobody got time for that.
My man doing the Razor Ramon with the toothpick.
Yeah. Ain't nobody seen me in a while, so I gotta come back a little villainous.
Okay. So you're in your new place right now. So how's the like the new studio space feel for you versus where you were before?
It is absolutely amazing. I have more room to do my VR stuff, so I don't feel like I'm about to hit something.
Yeah.
The acoustics in here is great. I still got a little bit more to set up before I take away the green screen. I got a couple of anime posters that I got that should be here hopefully this weekend that I'm gonna put up, and But it's been great. It's been great. We both love it. We had the space that we wanted. It's a pretty quiet neighborhood, so to speak, and just blessed.
I can hear the echo, so I can.
Yep.
It's a different space. It just goes to show you that if you can hear echo, there's definitely some room to do a lot of adventurous things. Letting the imagination run wild, of course. And I'll be doing the same thing in less than 30 days. Just configuring our space. I'm just, we just count down the days at this point, just preparing to break things down here over the course of the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And see if I can get the keys on the 30th of this month. So, a little bit earlier. So But yeah, life is life, and man, I really don't have much else to throw in there. Me and you, we go back and forth. We only do this for those of you out there that are tuned in, whether you were on purple or red. And if you didn't catch that secret language, if you're on Twitch or YouTube, if you're following on Twitch, if you're on Twitch and you're watching, be sure to follow. Of course, we missed last week, but here we are this week. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe, please. We really, really appreciate it. And at some point, we need to have a conversation about distributing the services, the podcasts onto like Spotify, because it's really not hard.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, because I don't think about it every day. And I'm pretty sure you don't either. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing this.
Yeah.
That's all. Because I've had several podcasts on Spotify, so I really want to get back into that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but hopefully, folks, y'all have had a great week so far. We're coming to the end of the week, and we didn't want to leave y'all hanging with another week of no Two Bearded Guys podcast. So we're not going to waste any time because we did start 30 minutes late and we are on a time constraint. But since that's the case, we're still going to make the best of this episode and not leave out any of the key points, which is why, we're not going to do too much small talk. So you want to let them know, folks, what we'll be talking about, my man?
Yeah. So there's this video that's been circulating around. I'm sure most of you guys have seen it. With Marvin Sapp, the pastor, well, the bishop at his church. He told his ushers to shut the doors. Don't let nobody out until they raise $40,000. And it's been very, very viral and just crazy. And I sent this to D, and I was like, dude, we got to talk about this because I don't think this really gets talked. This really doesn't get talked about a lot lately. You have your Christian podcasts, and some. No, I hadn't heard a podcast lately that spoke on it. It's gone viral. It's been the brunt of jokes, all that crazy stuff. But our topic tonight, it's gonna be a 2-part series because, like I said, like D said, we are under time constraints right now. So the topic for tonight is the issues with the modern church. If you've been in this podcast long enough, you know that D and I are, we're men of God. We're strong in the faith. We do come from different religious backgrounds. I grew up in the church. D kind of came to Christ a little bit later on, but we both are on fire for God, and seeing stuff like this on social media, it really like makes us sit back and think. It's like, what is the world coming to right now?
Yeah. It does not get talked about enough, to be honest with you. There is a spiritual attack, should I say, on the church. Like it is a onslaught of just hits and all different type of things being thrown at the church.
Mm-hmm.
I think I told you in a message not long ago, like, the world or the media or social media, whatever, they're never gonna highlight the good in the church. They're never gonna highlight the testimonies. They're never gonna highlight the amount of people who give their life to the Lord. They're never gonna highlight the lifestyles that have turned due to the Spirit of God. They're always gonna highlight, the small, not the small things, but the things that are not so positive, so to speak, because
Right.
there's people in positions that they should not be in the church, and some of the wrong people are in the pulpit, unfortunately. And then for every time something occurs, like if it's a scandal or if it's something that's involving, like this Marvin Sapp situation
Mm-hmm.
or something involving SA of underage individuals, it's
Yep.
always plastered all over the media. And it kind of makes people who may not be Christians or who may be like on the fence or folks that's been out of the church for a long time, it just gives them fuel to the fire that they already have. Like, see, like this is why I don't go to church, or this is why I don't
Yep.
believe in God. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it
Mm-hmm.
ain't nobody but the devil right there just trying to highlight all of the bad stuff. It's just like the media, like the news. They only highlight the stuff that's gonna piss people off and pull them and sway them to one side, depending on which outlet you look at.
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing with the modern day church. And I think one of the problems that we have is that it's not enough of people like us, it's not enough Christians that's talking about it, that's like speaking up. Like these things happen and nobody says anything,
Mm-hmm.
other than the people who oppose the church. Like nobody says a word. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
well, I think a lot of that has to do with the doctrines and stuff that's being preached in churches, and the fact that modern day Christians don't have a backbone to defend their faith. And when foolishness happens that goes viral, like this situation, people make it a joke, and some people joke about it. Some people, again, justify it for staying out of the church even more. It just goes in a whole lot of different directions that doesn't really give any glory to God. And
Right.
that bothers me, man. It really, really does. It's a lot of issues with the modern church, a whole lot of issues. I mean, those are just some
Mm-hmm.
of the things that I've just paid attention to over the last decade or so. How about you?
Um. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same sentiments as you. Man, it's just a lot going on that you see on social media.
Yeah.
It would life was definitely easier when social media wasn't as
Oh
big
gosh.
as it is now.
Yes.
Um, but that's the modern day church. Obviously I don't have a problem with them. Doing live streams because obviously you're gonna want to reach out to more people. Um, but I think sometimes the message gets hidden behind quote unquote the performance, you
Mm,
know.
yeah.
Um, which honestly that kind of leads into the first point.
Yeah.
The emphasis is on us and it's not on Jesus.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and by the way, guys, shout out to D for these. He actually came up with these, and I was thinking of some points, and I was like, nah, these are some really good points because I probably would have said the same thing. So big shout out to him for this. So yeah, I mean, give us your thoughts on this first point.
Yeah. So a lot of these points, just again, they come from just a personal experience, observation, and just seeing how we have a generation of Christians that are not really bearing any fruit. We see a generation of Christians that really don't even know what it means to walk in the spirit, and a generation of Christians that don't even read their Bibles.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these churches these days, they don't even really encourage you to bring a Bible to church. Everything's up on the screen, and it's just, it's everything is made easy for them. Get your smartphone out, or just look at the screen. Back in the days, like, you had to have a Bible, and if you didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
Bible, it was a Bible like right behind, like the
One of
little
the song books. Yep.
yeah, right there. It was a Bible in the songbook, and then you would sit there, and the preacher would be like, "Turn the page, such and such, John chapter 6," and then he would be like, "Are you there? You there? Don't let me beat you there." And that right there conditions Christians to like read their Bible, find where these books are, find where these chapters are.
Right.
A lot of modern day Christians don't, because of the doctrine that I feel has been shifted in the modern day church. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
isn't all churches now. There's some
Right.
really good pastors out there that I follow and you know as well. Philip Anthony Mitchell is one of them. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
quote him a lot. I really, really like him. Um, there's a pastor by the name of Jerry Flowers. I'm
Yep.
not sure if you heard. Okay, you know Jerry Flowers. Yeah.
Yep.
The first time I saw him was on Unk Stream. I
Yeah.
saw
Yeah.
him on there. So I saw him on there, and then I started watching him on my own. I'm like, I really like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another man. He's a little bit older, not old, but just a little bit older. His name is Pastor Ota. I can't remember his last name, but he's out of Atlanta, Georgia. I've been watching a whole lot of him for like
Mm-hmm.
the last 2 weeks. Very solid in the word.
Yeah.
Very, very solid as far as like encouraging you to read and encouraging you to um, apply what's there in the Bible. Because a lot of people they'll read it and they just kind of just go in one ear, not the other. But the emphasis doesn't seem to be on the cross. It doesn't seem to be on Jesus anymore. It seems to be on us. Okay. I've heard pastors say, you know, you're David and your problem is Goliath. You know what I'm saying? Like what you're, you know, dealing with your bosses, you're Goliath. Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
David was David, Goliath was Goliath, and you are you. Like, get over yourself, man. You are not David, and your boss is not Goliath. Like, it's ridiculous. There's just so much talk about us just getting in higher positions and you know, I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that God doesn't want us to be in better positions. He absolutely does want us to be. But I think that people often forget those verses that are so important, like in the book of Romans, where God says to um, be not conformed to the ways of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. To come to him as a living sacrifice, what is holy and righteous in his sight,
Mm-hmm.
a lifestyle change that honors him through Christ. You feel me? Like a
Yep.
lot of these church services, um, I made up a saying about 2 years ago, yeah, about a year or two ago, called putting butts in seats. So what that means is that we have a trend of pastors that are compromising on the messages just to get people in the church. You know, their goal is to get as
Mm.
many people in as possible, get as many people in as possible. So the only way to really do that is for you to make them feel comfortable and preach relatable messages that touch on topics or situations that they can relate to in their life. Once
Right.
again, which entails making it about them instead of Christ. You
Mm-hmm.
know, this wasn't a problem back in the day. It just wasn't. And like you said, you know, social media has kind of made this, you know, a bigger issue. But how
Mm-hmm.
this is what I always hear, like from older cats, they'll always say it's not that social media made this worse. This was always like this. It's just that now we see it everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, we're not going to dismiss the fact that social media has also added some gas to this
It has. Yep.
well, so because we got
Yep.
internet pastors, people with podcasts, and all different type of stuff, and I just don't see the emphasis on Christ like it should be.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Carlos?
Welcome in, bro. He said, "You ain't him. Don't try to equalize the David." Man, that's
No,
facts. That's
no,
facts.
Davis gone.
That is big facts. Yeah. I mean, you definitely hit the nail on the head, man. I really can't say too much more than what you said.
That's why you should go
Yeah.
first. It's a passionate topic.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
it's a
And
really, really passionate topic to me, man, because um, there's a lot of people in the church who want God to do this and this and this and this and that for them and name it, claim it, and blessed and highly favored, but they don't want to sacrifice nothing. They don't want to give
mhm.
nothing up They don't want to serve. They don't want to give back to God what belongs to Him. Like it's all about them. It's insane.
And you actually say what I was gonna say. You know, the emphasis is when people now are going to church for me, not going to, you know, give reverence to worship.
Yeah.
Excuse me, to worship God, you know, in all His glory and in spirit and truth. You know, it's more so of, okay, they got a praise band. How's the praise band gonna make me feel inside? And you know, dance teams and performances and you know, things like that. All these lights and theatrics. You know, what is that gonna do for me?
Right.
But it's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's not giving glory to God. Like how, like for me, you know, in my mind, it's like, how can you focus on the message when you got so much going on in the background? You know?
Yeah. Turns into like an emotional fest.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I was watching this podcast called Hardly Initiated. I don't know if you heard of it or not, but it's two guys, and Pastor Mitchell was on there, and he had just straight up asked one of the, because they're supposed to be Christians, but I question that. But Pastor Phillips was like, "Yo, man, why don't you have a church? Why don't you go to church?" Just straight up asked the host that, like, "Why are you not in a church?" So then he was like, "Well, I'm not gonna lie. I don't wanna. I gotta feel this and I gotta feel that." Like he was trying to make it sound like the church needed to cater to him or something like that in order for him to go. I'm like, God don't. He told us to go to church for us, not for him. It's not for him. It's for us to be in the body of Christ, to be around other individuals, to fellowship and all of that stuff right there. And but as long as people are thinking that it needs to be configured to their liking, you'll always have a reason to not go to church. And when it really should be you going to church and learning how you should be living a better life to serve the Lord.
Right.
And that's what this is all about. Like the Bible says that God created all things and all things for him or by him. Like everything, including us. It's not to say that God doesn't care about your feelings or care about what you want, but he cares about, first of all, like Jesus said, love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and your mind. That's what he cares about above all.
Yep.
And if we do these things, and then everything else will fall into place.
That's exactly right.
But you hardly hear that anymore in a lot of these churches. They're doing the theatrics and all this crazy stuff, and yeah, man, it's embarrassing.
Yeah. Carlos, yes, this topic actually came about because of that situation. I mean, we will talk about it here, actually in the next bullet point, which is money has become the focus of the modern day church. And I mentioned it earlier, and I'm sure everybody has seen it because it is all over social media. But the bishop of this church was giving a speech, and pretty much told the ushers to close the doors. Don't let nobody out. They needed to raise $40,000. Now, little did he know, he actually could have gotten arrested, not for kidnap, but for fire code. So he actually was supposed to get arrested for violating fire code. And I can't remember what the 40,000 was for. I know part of it was from what I've read. A portion of it was for him to renew his licenseship, which again, I don't know why anybody would need a license to preach, but
You don't. That's crazy.
that's neither here nor there. And then the rest of it was going to go to the church.
Mm.
So that situation is really what got us thinking about this topic, because money has become the focus. I mean, you see all these mega churches and people are giving, and they add on to the church to make things bigger and better, and more lights and more theatrics and things of that nature. But where, I mean, and I can't say where that money is going because I don't attend those churches. But the church that I attend, when we give, it goes into the church budget, and it goes into certain areas of that church budget, whether it's to the youth group or whether it's to Bible classes for the young kids, or obviously benevolence, taking care of people and things like that.
Right.
So that, like, to me, you can definitely see how money has become a big focus in the church right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's just start from the top. Money, and people get this messed up all the time. Money is in itself is not evil.
Right.
It's the love of money that's evil. And throughout the Bible, it's clear that money or currency or whatever the case may be is essential. And as long as we're here, it is essential. So there's no parting ways with that. If we go back to the book of Acts, the disciples, this was after Jesus ascended into heaven. Disciples were told, go into the world and preach the gospel to every living creature. Jesus ain't say go on to Samaria and preach the gospel. He ain't say go to Judea and preach gospel. He said go into the world and preach the gospel. So if me and you were gonna like get on a flight and go travel the world, we would need a lot of money to do that. So there's various verses in the book of Acts to where it says that there were literally people who contributed to the Great Commission. There were people who gave silver, who gave gold. There were even some people that sold their homes just to give that money to the disciples, just so that they can make that pilgrimage of relaying the gospel around the world. So that's an early illustration of just talking about money in the church. But here we are today. Has the church become money focused? And I guess it really depends on which church we talking about.
Right.
Our church, money is not a big focus. We don't. My pastor Harley talks about it. He will talk about generosity, and everything is biblical as far as like how you should live your life and giving, things of that nature, and how it comes back around. And that's literally all over the Bible. It's just a principle of just having a good heart for the most part. But like you said, like for us, we have a budget as well. Some of the budget goes towards to the adding on of our church. Some of it goes to we just did an event last weekend that they do at least twice a year, I believe, or maybe a few times out of the year, to where they pack up. And Carlos, you can attest to this. They pack up like about 30,000 meals and send it to the Dominican Republic. So we all get together. I haven't went, but they all get together on a Saturday and they go to like the school and they do that and they ship them off to the Dominican Republic. Our church has taken trips over to the Dominican Republic and have built playgrounds, for the kids. They've gone to Peru and done the same thing. So It ain't one of those situations to where, you know, pastor's riding a Mercedes Benz. Like, my pastor's got a regular vehicle.
Yeah.
It's just a regular vehicle. When I got there, he had like a '08 Tundra truck, and now he's got like a Jeep that is similar. I don't know what year it is, but how he got the Jeep, you know, another pastor of the church was getting another car, and he kind of just bought it from him. So,
Yeah.
but it ain't nothing lavish. But anyway, you know, there are other churches out here that put a lot of focus on money. Like, I've seen pastors like, what's his name, Kenneth Copeland, he comes to mind. Anytime I think of a hustler in the church, I think of him. You know, I remember it was during COVID, and he they were doing everything through stream, and he said, now don't you think because these doors are closed that y'all ain't got to sit in that tide. You better get down there and sit in that tide. Do it electronic. Now that's how you talk. Do it electronic. Slip it through the door. Whatever you got to do. Don't you pay for nothing until you pay that tithe.
Wow.
I'm like, Lord have mercy, man. That's the problem right there. The scare tactics. Like, you be making people. Some of these pastors make folks think that they cursed if they don't give.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I do think that money has become the focus, to say the least. And just like I said earlier, that there's just this thing about some pastors compromising on what they say just so that more people can come in. Now, we should know the more members you have, the more money they're gonna generate.
Right. Right.
So I do feel that churches need contributions from the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
Our money ain't finna just fall out of the sky. That's just not how this works.
Right.
God tries the hearts of people to take care of the man of God. And if you feel like you're getting anything out of a church and it's changing you spiritually, you're crazy to not want to contribute to the growth of that church.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that the messages should be focused on money, money, money all the time, or, you know, getting a brand new Hummer, or, you know, just stuff like that. It just shouldn't, you know. And again, it's not all churches, but it's definitely, you know, there's some Sundays out there people will attest that, dang, man, all y'all talk about is money and status all the time. So especially when you go to these churches and people, they have particular suits that they like to wear just to go
Yep.
to church, or park right in the front just so you can see what they drive. And a lot of it might be some of the mega churches. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
smaller churches.
Yeah. You know, another situation when it comes to money. Now, this one's a bit different. You know, this is a pastor giving money.
Mm.
Now, I don't know if it came from his own pocket or if it came from the church budget, but I thought this was like, to me, I thought it was very powerful. So we had mentioned earlier Pastor Anthony Miller, and there was a video that was circling around on TikTok. I didn't see it anywhere else, but definitely on TikTok. And basically, what happened was this family, this white family, sold everything that they had. They lived in West Canada. They sold everything that they had just to join his church, right? Um, Now let us be honest here, Chad. Would you sell everything you had just to join a church?
No. Listen, there are this pastor, you know, we can, you know, say his name, Philip
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Mitchell is starting to become very popular. on social media. Very popular. You might trust me. You have probably seen the clip of his.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you probably seen, homeboy dressed in all black and it's dark and he's very passionate. Sometimes you might even see him crying or
Yep.
on the ground praying. And I got no problem with none of it. It shows his heart, to be honest with you. But the problem is that it's not him, it's how people look at him. I think that's the problem because
Mm-hmm.
some people will idolize the pastor or idolize the church, to where, that they'll make really, really big life altering choices like packing up everything, selling everything, moving
Mm-hmm.
to a whole other country just to attend a church.
Yeah.
You would think you were moving in with Jesus himself.
Yep.
That's the type of like reaction that I think it is now. Now, that's neither here nor there. But I'm not. This has nothing to do with what came after that. But
Yeah.
just the fact of like just moving to attend a church.
Mm-hmm.
Are you living with the man? Or is he gonna walk with you? Is he gonna like disciple you personally?
Yeah.
All of these things, like no, no, and no. Like you're just another member of the church,
Yeah.
like everybody else. I mean, what about you?
I mean, honestly, I would not. I mean, I wouldn't sell. I wouldn't sell everything. Now, obviously, we have an example in the Bible where Jesus told the rich young ruler
Hmm.
to sell his possessions and follow him.
Yeah,
But
that was
the
Jesus, though.
that was Jesus, right? That
That
was
wasn't the
Jesus.
pastor.
And the thing about it is, like looking at the video, it was him, his wife, and their baby.
Hmm.
So it's like, you got and obviously I'm sure they both talked about it. They had discussed it and prayed
Oh,
about it and all that
yeah.
because that's a major leap, to just sell everything you got just to move and be closer and to be at that church. But the awesome thing about what happened next was what like really got me thinking.
Hold on, before you continue, I just wanted to say something. I
Mhm.
have heard of numerous situations of people up and leaving because God told them go to Atlanta, go to Chicago. Like I've
Mhm.
heard that over and over and over. Like I ain't never experienced that before, and I don't see why anybody would fabricate it. But
Yeah.
I've heard that people say, God told me to move to California for whatever reason. So, but
Mhm.
so it's not really unusual as to what they did. It's just not. But I guess it would have to take God to tell me to do something like that.
Mhm.
I'm just not gonna do it because I like the pastor or the message.
Right.
I'm not doing that. But go ahead.
Right. Before I get into it, Carlos said, in my opinion, there's limits to what can be humanly done to participate in the church. The moment one's family is harmed, then that church ain't good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely agree with that one. So here's part two. So, you know, Pastor Philip, he recognizes the family, brings them down to the front, was talking to him, and, guy was like, we sold everything to be here. Sold everything. I don't have a job. I don't have nothing. And he looks around and he was like, huh?
Where they living at?
All right. And Pastor Philip was like, you know what? How about we give you $50,000? And the guy was like, no. He kept telling him, no, 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 don't do that. We don't need it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Blah blah blah. And he was like, no, I insist. And not only are we going to give you $50,000, but we're also going to give you a job. Like, you don't see stories like that. Not in the church.
Never. Not saying it doesn't happen, but you don't see
Right.
it.
You just don't see it.
I told you, you're not going to see that like highlighted. And the only reason I think that got highlighted is because of who he is and how he's already like, taken off on social media.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen a couple of his clips. I hadn't watched a full sermon, but from his clips, he is preaching Jesus for sure. He's definitely preaching Jesus.
His sermons are good. They are. I've watched. Well, both me and my wife, we have watched. I don't watch him all the time. His style is not something I can watch every day and all like often. I can't. There's passion there, but there's some emotion there too. But it is Bible.
Yeah,
it is. It is Bible. So I don't think he's doing anything wrong. And of course, when you start becoming up there, you start getting some haters and stuff like that. But just like you said, he gave they gave the man $50,000. I'm assuming it came out of the church's budget, but that's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money, and then a job at that. Like you said, you don't see that often. And we talked about this the other day. Like, it's always going to be like two debates with that situation. Number one, is he doing it for clout? Just to be seen. Or number two, is it coming from a place of love and gentleness and just this is what the church is. Like, this is what we do. This is how we should be doing it. Like, if you're a Christian, you should not be poor. You should not go without, because we're supposed to be doing stuff like this all the time for one another. We're supposed to be a family. But my thing is the clout side. I don't really see what he would have to gain, from giving away $50,000.
Yeah.
I don't see it. And just based on, like what you've seen from his content and what I've seen, I mean, I don't really have a reason to believe that it's nothing other than him wanting to really show his love and appreciation for them making that sacrifice. So I think that's the word right there. It was a sacrifice. Like, they sacrificed everything to come there. And I'm assuming the pastor felt it on his heart to sacrifice a large sum of money, for this family, which, $50,000 can help out a lot. It's definitely enough to get you on your feet.
Yeah.
But that's not something that he does all the time. I don't even think I've ever heard him preach on money before.
Not that I've seen.
I haven't. I mean, I'm sure he probably is like I said, a lot of pastors will preach messages about generosity, and generosity is linked to money in one way, shape, or form. But I also kind of want to tackle this from another perspective too. Like, there's some people who are so far to the other side to where they just feel like they shouldn't give anything to the church at all. Like, they just like, this is my money. I'll work for it. I do what I want to do with it, and I'm not gonna put it in church. So, and I always hear the same story. I give to the poor. I do this and I do that. And I'm not saying these are wrong. I mean, you should be doing that too. But again, if you're going to church and you're getting something out of it, you should be contributing to it. And and if you're not getting anything from it, why are you even there?
Yeah.
just to say you go to church.
Excuse me.
Was that a sneeze or a cough
Nah, that was a cough.
a high note?
That was definitely a cough.
I heard.
Mm-hmm. Guys, it's sinus season.
Yeah, take your
It's
Zyrtec, y'all.
rough. So, um, but yeah, man, I know one big thing that you always talk about is generosity and tithing and things of that nature. Um, you know that's a very it's a very controversial topic, like you said. It's very controversial because some people feel like they shouldn't have to give to the church, you know, because for one, they don't know where the money is actually going. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, on the other hand, you got people that want to give to the church because they want to see it grow. You know, that's one thing that you always hear some preachers and pastors talk about when it comes to giving to the church. You know, is to help the church grow. Um, you know, building numbers and um, fun mission trips. You know, that's a big one is the mission trips. So
I feel like if you don't know where the money's going, then that's either because you don't
want to
pay
know,
attention, or you don't
yeah,
want to know,
mm-hmm.
or
They don't
church
tell
is
you,
not telling you, and that's a red flag in itself.
yep,
You know, like most churches, you know, are open about that. I remember I went to this church like before COVID hit. Right, my neighbor had invited us to go, and we went. It really wasn't for us, but that ain't the point. But after church service, after church service, they had I don't know, man. We was going as a visitor, and they were like gracious enough to let me sit in on this. I guess I don't know, but anyway, service was over, and then they had this screen, like they had one of those not a monitor. You know, remember them back in the day when we went to school, they would pull down that projector.
yeah,
They had the projector, and they sat there and they went over everything on their budget.
oh wow,
Everything from like the funding for missions, the pastor
mm-hmm.
salary, everything was right there. Not hiding nothing whatsoever.
Yeah,
So, but for you, if your reasoning is because you don't know where the money is going, that's why you don't give, then why don't you try to find out where it's going? Because a lot of people, what is it? What did Jesus say? You Where your heart is, that's there where your treasure will be. Also, so
mm-hmm.
whatever you hold close to your heart, that's your treasure. And to a lot of people, it's money. You know, money has the ability to change our emotions. Like it makes us happy. It can make us happy. It can make us sad. It can make us angry. It can make us excited. It can change our dynamic of our lifestyle. It has so many different like influences in our life, and people hold it tight to them because we all know we need it. And for you to just give it away, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard for some people. And you know, they'll try to justify it like, you know, it's my money. I'm like, well, not really.
Yeah,
Really not your money, but you know, if you keep telling yourself that,
right,
but you know, once again, throughout the scriptures, generosity is talked about from Old to New Testament. So there's really no escaping this. And the thing
mm-hmm.
is, you shouldn't want to escape it either, because, dude, that's your ticket right there. That is your ticket right there for doors opening. That's your ticket
Yep,
right there for blessings to come your way.
mm-hmm.
You know, anybody who can be generous has shown God that their heart posture, you know, and if you're selfish, there's a verse in what is it? Proverbs that says the stingy man shall be stricken with poverty.
Yep.
You know, our lead pastor said it best. He said if you want more, you got to give. If you want to be broke, then hold on to what you got. Just hold on to it.
Yeah.
Hoard it if you want to be broke. I said, say less. I'm not finna hoard
Right.
it. You know,
Right.
we can't take it to the grave with us anyway. So you might as well contribute to good causes. But again, know where everything is going in your church
Mm-hmm.
before you do that. So
Yeah. So we're getting close to wrapping this up. Do we want to do one more point, or
let me see.
because these first two points now they were some heavy hitters. We don't.
I don't think we should hit number 3.
Okay.
Because that would be a long-winded one.
Yeah.
That would be a long-winded one right there.
We might put this in the 3 parts.
It look like it might have, and if we have to, we just have to. I mean, I'm fine with that.
Right.
That's
It is what it is.
okay. But what we can do is, I just kind of wanted to, just share my heart here.
Yeah.
Is that these topics need to be discussed because there are people who have podcasts like ours, and all they do is just bash the church. They just bash the church. They bash, the faith and everything. These are usually people who have been hurt
Mm-hmm.
to some sort of capacity or just had a bad experience with a church and start getting on social media venting about it and stuff. Like, we're not talking bad about the church. We're just talking about, some of the modern day fallacy that's taking place in it. Just because something is new doesn't make it better.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, like I said, you had said when we started that we came from 2 different backgrounds. I mean, it's true, but I did grow up in church. Didn't really pay much attention to church, but I did. Like my grandparents made it a priority to take me to church.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, you don't live with us, you gotta go to church. I'm like, all right, well, what am I gonna do? Say no? I'm a kid.
Right.
So I just have memories of everything just being just straight Bible. And that's it. Like I said, having your Bible on hand. I know people who go to church, but they don't read, they don't study. They don't, because it's not encouraged to do so. Like it's just not, and I feel like that's the job of a church. Like, if the pastor should not just give you a message, but should be like encouraging you to like continue this as you go home, so you can become stronger and better and not so dependent on the church, if that makes any sense. Because you go to you go to church on Sunday, you feel great, then you go back out into the world Monday through Saturday, feel like somebody beat you with a bat.
Mm-hmm.
Come back in the church limping like, oh, I had such a hard week. Pray for me. I'm like, well, what the heck were you doing all week? Were you walking in the spirit? Were you praying? Were you fasting? Were you spending time with him? That's another thing right there that we need to talk about. Fasting.
It doesn't get talked about.
Dude, because they don't do it. They don't do it. They don't do it. I mean, a lot of churches do, but a lot of them have kind of just left that. Like, we're just gonna put that to the side. We don't do that anymore. I'm like, the more you take away from what God tells you to do, the weaker you become.
Yep.
And the weaker we become, the more foolishness we'll see in the church. People condoning this and people condoning that, and being okay with this coming in the church and that coming in the church. Like, all you got to do is give a devil an inch.
And he'll take 50 miles.
He'll take, yes, he will. He'll take it and won't let go. So I mean, I just again, I have to stress this. Like, this is not every single church. It's not. There's some great churches out there. No perfect church though.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
no
no
perfect
perfect.
church. Like I said, my church, it's good, but it's not perfect. I don't know what a perfect church looks like. Truthfully, I really don't, because somebody will always find something that they don't agree with
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to, like, the doctrine or the setting or whatever the case may be, which is why my closing remarks would be, just, you should be like spending time with God yourself anyway, and reading your Bible and all that good stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. You know, it 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 says in the Bible, show yourself approved.
yes,
You know, be
yeah,
ready to
take
give
that
an
time out.
answer. Yeah, be ready to give an answer when questioned about your faith. Um,
Hey,
there's a
I've
lot
heard
of
that.
verses.
I had never hear that in the church. I never hear that verse, and it's a
You know,
legitimate verse.
it's a very legit verse. I remember, you know, when I was growing up, we might have said something in Bible class, and our teacher would be like BCV, and we'd be looking around like BCV. You're like, yeah, book chapter verse.
Mm,
You should
mm,
know. You said this, so you should know where it's at.
I like that. Yeah. Yes, yes, because um, I don't think that most Christians even know how to defend their faith. You know, I, and it's not their fault. True.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes and no, but again, depending on what type of church you go to, what's being preached, and things of that nature, the type of messages that are being preached, and we'll talk about that in the next episode. Christians only can operate off of what they're fed. And if they're under
Mm-hmm.
leadership that's not really feeding them like doctrine that's going to teach them how to defend their faith, what do you expect? What do you think is going to be produced?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not going to be, I can do this and I can do that. Like, I don't know if you ever watched, you ever heard of apologetics?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Cal
so
Bud and it's somebody else, but Cal Bud is a well known
there's
person.
there's one called Cliff. I can't remember his last name, but that dude right there, he'll go anywhere and take on anybody. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
college, he be going in the Lions Den, the college universities and all that different type of stuff, going back and forth with them students, and it doesn't matter. He's good. Frank Turek is good. He has a YouTube channel called Cross Examination. Never runs from the questions. These are things that will make most Christians run and be like, I gotta call Deacon Jackson or Pastor. I'm like, no, man, you're supposed to know this stuff.
Yep.
You're supposed to know this. And again, it ain't always their fault, but it kind of is, because you're supposed to be reading the Bible and studying it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but nobody's perfect, but
Not at all.
and I don't claim to know everything. I don't know everything that there is to know. I really don't, but I definitely have knowledge on the Bible, because I do spend a lot of time reading it. And I've
Mm-hmm.
spent a lot of time for years reading it. Before I even got back into church, I was in the Bible heavy, because I wanted to make sure, I go to this church to see if this lines up
Right.
with what I'm reading. I don't like to be spoon fed, and whatever. So,
Yeah.
but you got anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, I mean I think we covered a lot tonight. I can't wait for these next few parts, because I mean these next points are gonna be absolute,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
knee jerking reactions. things like that. So
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm just looking at them. This might end up being like a 3-part series, also,
yep.
and that's okay.
So, but guys, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're on the red or purple channels, we definitely appreciate you guys for being here. I know this is a little shorter than what we normally do, but we are here. We missed last week, and we just didn't want to miss this week, so we had to make some things shake.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will be back to our normal schedule next week and all that good stuff. But do you have any shameless plugs?
Um, I'll probably start making content again next month. I did put out a YouTube video yesterday after nearly 2 months. Just kind of giving a life update, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding that I'm not really doing much of anything that brings me joy or happiness because I've been like hustling and working so much.
Yeah.
So, once we're moved in and all that stuff, I'm gonna get back to making content again. So I don't know when, I don't know what date, but just know sometime in May. I'm gonna be doing that, and of course, May's a very busy month for us. We got a lot of things going on, and of course, we got our DreamCon trip coming up at the end of that month as well. So yeah, it's gonna be one heck of a month. So, but that's all I got, man.
Yeah. I don't really have much either. I know I've been off for about 2 weeks now. I'm really, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm really deciding whether I want to keep taking this break or come on back. It just kind of depends. I really wanted to get things at the house settled and all that good stuff before I came back. So we'll see how it goes. I know, like you said, May is gonna be a very busy day. I'm actually gonna be participating in a charity event in May. But it also comes down to work is about to be crazy. These next 2 weeks are going to be busy, and then next month is going to be real busy. So I will definitely be looking forward to DreamCon once it comes, because man,
That's
got a
all.
lot.
To be honest, man, because I just can't wait to take a break. But
Yeah,
for you, if I'm being honest, I would just enjoy, just the time off right now. I would. What it was
dude.
always put to me like this, like, this is always gonna be here.
Uh-huh.
No matter what, it's always gonna be here. And like we got friends who have taken
Mm-hmm.
a year off, 2 years off, and they just without any type of like regard. Like I
Yeah,
always say, do whatever you want to do or what you need to do.
yeah,
Like when like I said, it's been 2 months for me since I've done any stuff on Twitch. And it wasn't even planned, to be honest.
yep,
Like I said, like I had a plan as far as what I actually wanted to do this year, and then that just got flipped upside down with
mm-hmm.
real life. Like it happens sometimes. So
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, let's go this way then, and
yeah.
let's just handle business. So, but, yeah, if I were you, I would just enjoy, where you at right
Dude,
now.
the crazy part about it is I have really been enjoying it. Like I don't get on Twitch anymore. Like if there's somebody that I watch like on YouTube, I'll pop in. But
Yeah,
I'll just pop in and that's it.
yeah,
But like I don't sit there and chat. But I have been enjoying my time with the wife, and like I'll do offline gaming.
yeah,
And it's been very, very therapeutic actually, not being live and having to entertain people and all this good stuff. So it's been fun. It has been fun.
Dude,
And maybe it's just because of the new chapter in my life. That's definitely got a lot to do with it.
and dude, here's the thing, man. Like again, it's okay. Like, we all like I've been paying close attention to us all, other people that I know, and I see differences. Like some of these people have like had children, some of these people have moved, some of these people have gotten a new career, some of these people, things just happen in their life that kind of naturally pull them away from streaming and towards something else. But I don't know what it is about streaming that it's almost cult like to where like I gotta do it. But it's okay to chill out for a little bit too and enjoy your actual life. Like with me, I'm sure you noticed like over the last few months or so, like my presence in streams was becoming less and less and less, not for any reason other than I was just so focused on what I got going on here that I didn't really feel the need to do anything outside of that. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it'll always be there. Like even for me, like if I decide to do this again, in May or June or whatever, it's always gonna be there.
Yep.
All the time. So, but yeah, that's what I would do if I were you. Just enjoy your time, and when you're ready to fire it up, you'll know it.
Yep. So, well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we do bid you a good night and a good evening. We will be back next Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. No, we should be back to normal schedule. We're gonna do part 2 of issues with the modern church. We hope you guys enjoyed it. If you are on YouTube, please leave a comment below. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on this, on what we said. Whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you're indifferent, just let us know. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel, like, share, all that good stuff. And if you're new to the Twitch world, make sure you drop us a follow. We definitely appreciate it. For us, it's not about the growth. We just love doing what we do, and God will bless us in many ways, no matter where it goes.
That's it.
So, all right, guys. Hope y'all have a great night. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Be easy. Peace.
Y'all know me, Big the Legend G, with my co-host Initial D, bringing that heat in the Twitch street. Grab your popcorn, kick up your feet, sit back, relax. We about to blow. Welcome to our channel. Enjoy the show. Ayy.
Hard conversation, brain stimulation, BGID, no imitation. Look, pull up on the mic. 2 big guys is rocking the night. Sub on YouTube and follow on Twitch. I guarantee it's gonna be a hit. It's showtime.